Good morning, good morning, good morning. What a fantastic, beautiful, awesome morning. And guess what? It could be morning any time of the day because our Creator breathed life into you this moment, this day. He breathed life into me this moment, this day. He woke you up this morning, this day. Yes. Why? Because our Creator uses broken, wounded, and shattered people like me and like you to rescue wounded, shattered, and broken people like me and like you. So, therefore, we want to welcome you today, the day of 103 of the Free to Hope presents the 12 steps applied to COVID-19. Yes, be excited because there is a solution to stop the perpetuation of this awful, awful pandemic. And they are in the 12 steps developed by Alcoholics Anonymous over 80 years ago. No, I do not represent Alcoholics Anonymous, but I've been a proud, grateful, and humble member for 31 years as of February the 23rd of 2021. Yes, and as a result of surviving COVID-19 for over now 103 days hold on, y'all, let's see. Ooh, Lord, I love you. Hold on, y'all. Yes. Having survived COVID-19 for 103 days with 7 family members, we all have survived. We all can breathe. We all can smell. We all can taste. We are alive. Yes, 8 members of the Hall Dockery family were infected back in October, November, and December of 2020. But as of December of 2020, all of us survived COVID-19. And so far, there are no long-lasting effects. To God be the glory. But we also know that there are others who will not wake up this morning, can't wake up this morning, on their dying bed as we speak. COVID-19 has taken away loved ones, COVID-19 have left those behind suffering with pain, agony, because they couldn't be there for their loved ones. COVID-19 is still producing its severe symptoms to others right now. They are aching. They are in feverish state of mind, right? They can't smell, they can't taste, they can't feel. Yes, there are those in COVID-19 pandemic who are doing the right thing and wearing a mask, washing their hands, social distancing, contact tracing, getting tested, and getting vaccinated. But there are those too who are still defiant, still in denial, still believe it's a hoax, think they have that attitude of being invincible. Why do I know that? Because I was one of them. So, because our higher power, who I choose to call God, saved me and my family, I'm hoping that these recovery conversations can do for you what he has done for me and my family. Saving one individual at a time, one family at a time, one culture at a time, one community, one city, one state, one country. And while we all go through this knee-bowing experience around the globe simultaneously, there is a solution, and they are in the 12 steps. So, before we continue, let's give homage to our Creator and to the entire human race as we battle, deal with this COVID-19 pandemic, the other variants, right? Because only our Creator knows the beginning, the middle, and the end. But we have a solution during this pandemic because it's not the first, nor will it be the last. So join me for 30 seconds in silence just to say thank you to our Creator, to have trust and faith that He knows what He is doing. And let's pray for our fellow men and women, brother and sister, family, yes. In other words, the entire human race. Join me as we do this often in a 12-step program. Give a moment of silence. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if I see you out and about, you will see me wearing my mask. I pray and hope that you will be wearing your mask, because I know when I had that attitude of being invincible, being defiant, being rebellious, I picked and chose when I wore my mask. I picked and chose when to wash my hands. I picked and chose when to social distance, right? I picked and chose with the contact tracing, and I definitely was apprehensive about getting the test, and definitely was in refusal of getting the vaccination shot, which is why I know I contributed to contracting COVID-19 and affecting members of my family. So that's why I know God prepared me to sit before you, not just to share my experience, my strength, my hope, and my wisdom of being delivered from drugs and alcohol and the lifestyle over 31 years ago, but also delivered me from COVID-19 for 103 days to help save one life, one family, one culture, one country. Yes, we can. We will, we must stop the perpetuation of the devastating outcomes, impact, effects, and fatalities of COVID-19. In our 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous, they say some of us must die in order for some of us to live, because we know that not everybody is going to listen. And that's why these 12 steps that are spiritual in nature will challenge you and give you a spiritual experience to create a spiritual awakening, increase your spiritual maturity, experience a spiritual transformation to obtain a psychic change. Applying these 12 steps that are spiritual in nature to this physical condition of COVID-19, and taking the suggestions of the CDC and learning from other people's experiences. Yes, if you talk to others who have had it, who have lost loved ones, who've been left behind, who are suffering, they will tell you, if I coulda, woulda, shoulda. If I coulda, woulda, shoulda, I would have did things differently. I would have worn the mask. I would have washed my hands. I would have social distanced, right? I would have done the contact tracing. I definitely would have got tested and taken the vaccine shot when it became available. Because there's nothing more painful than to lose a loved one or to suffer with something like this, and you can't have no close contact, not be in the proximity of reaching and touching your loved ones. Could you imagine? There, by the grace of God, there go I. There, by the grace of God, there go you. So as a result of me being prepared to sit before you to share this information regarding my being delivered from drugs and alcohol 31 years ago, And also my experience, my strength, my hope, my wisdom, my lack of wisdom, my bad choices, and my bad decisions regarding COVID-19. So I pray that when I meet you, you will have your mask on. I will definitely have my mask on. If you don't, I will offer you one. And if you refuse, I will pray for you. But keep my distance for sure. And not only am I wearing it, but I am an attraction and an example for my other family members, particularly my grandchildren, because the youngest one who caught COVID-19 was 2 years old, and the oldest was their grandfather, 78 years old. Yes. So I'm wearing my mask. I'm washing my hands. I am social distancing. I am contact tracing. I got tested and will if I need to again, but I definitely got the vaccination shot, and I will show you that in a few minutes. So right now, what I want to do is take this off, right? And put on my glasses so I can see, right? There you are. I see you. And so what I want to do right now is acknowledge my sponsors who believe in what I'm doing and helping me to spread the word on as many platforms as possible. So if you want to be a sponsor, please join these organizations or individuals to help spread the word and to offer this information free to all who will listen. MDB Associates, Dr. Mary Douglas Bailey. Patchwork Human Services, Ebony Madry. Levante N. Dorsey and Associates. Academy of Peace, Dr. J. Macklin. Crafty Crab Seafood Restaurant. I had my 31st anniversary at this restaurant, who practiced the CDC and suggestion to make sure we did the same thing. Free to Hope, from recovery, emerge empowered to give hope to others, right? We also have a few more, and they are Women Do Haul Transportation Services. My crown is by Mr. C's Barbershop. My attire is from Morgan's of Delaware. My African attire is Lady T at Morgan's of Delaware. The outfit I'm wearing right now this morning is from Jones Accessory in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I have to add her to my sponsor list. The jewelry I wear sometimes is jewelry by Catherine Butler. And right now, the last sponsor is Divine Light Recovery Center and Supportive Housing. Dr. Carl Jong, Dr. Bob, and Bill W. realized back at that meeting in the 1930s that people with the disease of alcoholism could not be helped completely by the religious field or the medical field. And they decided and came up with, through Dr. Carl Jones, being able to be humble and say, no, Dr. Bob Bill, y'all need divine providence and you need divine intervention that will bring about divine light. And so who would have known that years later I would be working with and helping an organization that provides the divine light in the recovery arena. All right. Now, guess what? One of the reasons why I'm sitting before you this morning is because of an article that was written by Dr. Scott T. Allison back on March the 31st. Yes, in Psychology Today. He wrote how wisdom of the 12-step programs can help get us through April of 2020. Where are we now? In the new year, in a new month, and about to come up on the anniversary of the first stay-at-home order of April of 2020, right? And his seven focus points were letting go of control, patience, keeping the focus on oneself, right? Trust, living in the present, right? Social connections, right? And services to others. Yes. And so one of the reasons why I selected that is because my friend in my 12-step program, Stephanie J, said, Edwina, this article is what you've been talking about for the last 2 months. Look, and guess what? I read it and I prayed and God showed me that, okay, April the 1st, I want you to go live and start sharing this experience, strength, and hope of the 12-step program. And as you will see in some of my early tapes and my earlier podcast, I ain't know what I was doing. I just listened. I just yelled and started talking and let God talk through me to give you the information. What I also needed in order to be effective was to extract Jason Waller's breakdown of the 12 steps that he used and using in Alcoholics Anonymous. Yes, through a narrative, posing different questions, a synopsis, a summary, an overview, a great template on breaking down each and every step to help you become inspired, to encourage you to embrace the 12 steps that are spiritual in nature. So let's see. If he applied them to Alcoholics Anonymous, we're going to apply it to COVID-19 Anonymous. Have you started your group yet? I'm starting mine right here and right now. So the 12 steps applied to COVID-19 would read: 1, we admitted we were powerless over COVID-19, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, only means soundness of mind. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him regarding COVID-19. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves regarding COVID-19. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs regarding COVID-19. 6, were entirely ready to have God remove all defects of character regarding COVID-19. And we go to 7, which says humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings regarding COVID-19. 8, which is the step we are on today, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all regarding COVID-19. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others, even you, regarding COVID-19. 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it regarding COVID-19. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry it out regarding COVID-19. And 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to others regarding COVID-19 and practice these principles in all our affairs. I want to interject right now the song called Spiritual by Donald Lawrence. It reads, you are not a natural being having a spiritual experience. No, you are a spiritual being encased in this natural experience. So when we apply these 12 spiritual principles, we can apply them to any and all physical conditions, including COVID-19. Yes, you are not a natural being having a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being encased and walking this natural experience. That turned my world right side up when I had 22 years in the program. And guess what? I was, ignorant. No, I wasn't ignorant. I failed to apply the 12 steps to COVID-19 back in October, November, and December, in spite of me having the information. Why? Because of that feeling of being defiant, rebellious, self-centered, selfish, egotistical, right? Prideful. Stuff I've been working on for years. But guess what? We recognize in the 12-step program that it's about making progress because we'll never be perfect. So I fell short contributed to contracting COVID-19 and affecting my family members. So I caused harm, and I need to list them in my 8th step. And so you don't have to go through the same thing I and others have gone through. So let me show you the beginning of my podcast back on April the 1st. And I've been showing it every day, just a portion of it. So today you'll get to see, I believe, part 2, maybe 3 of, part 2 of the April the 4th presentation or dialogue conversation regarding COVID-19. So I'm just going to play a few minutes of it so that you can see how far God has brought me from my little makeshift studio in my kitchen or my bedroom, and now I'm in my den, which is why having sponsors can help me increase and obtain additional equipment to come before you as professional and humble as I can. And you will see in some of these things, I am so transparent. I snatch wigs off. I take these dentures out to show you that it doesn't matter what mask I am wearing. I need to take all of those masks off and put on the mask that's designed to save my behind, save my life and not my face. So you will get a chance to see some of that. So let me show you day 4, part 2 of April the 4th of 2020. Just a little clips of it, okay? So listen. All right, here we go. Principles to help me deal with what's inside and expose them, to get help for them, to put them in its right perspective. Alcoholics Anonymous can stand for AA, attitude adjustment. Yeah. And so my way of providing intervention help is by doing what I'm doing now. Sharing with you my experience, my strength, and my hope about the 12 recovery principles. And then the third part is restoration. Once we get through all of this, and we don't know when and how we're going to get through it, we really don't. Everybody has all these solutions, these alternatives, these projections, these pathways, but nobody really knows but. But the question is, what can I do? What can you do to help yourself and to help those immediately around you? And if each one of us did that, then once we get through this, using the 12 recovery principles can help restore our life. Help put our lives back together after learning some important information as a result of going through this experience. So that we can learn what we need to do differently so it doesn't be repeated. So these 12 recovery principles are for prevention, for intervention, and eventually for restoration. Individually, collectively, and as a country or world at large. Okay? So, let me start off again. This is free from Recovery, Emerge, Empowered. From recovery, emerge empowered. Use these 12 recovery principles to help you emerge empowered. Once you become emerge empowered, then you will be able to give hope. Hope to others. Help others prosper equally. Not prosper I'm not talking about financially. I'm not talking about materialistically. I'm talking about prosper spiritually. Mm-hmm. Yes, this is an inside job. I need to prosper from within. Not look at the external things that I think can create happiness or think that will make me happy. They don't. Things do not make me happy. Money do not make me happy. What makes me happy is a peace of mind, serenity, a sense of comfort, a sense of belonging, tranquility. So we're talking about help others prosper equally. Because as human beings, we are all ill to some extent. Yes. But we can help each other prosper equally spiritually. So, because I could not conduct my 2020 free tour that God had prepared me to go around the world to share these 12 recovery principles during the year of 2020. And it started in Delaware in February. And I was slated to go around the world sharing this information. But because I needed to accept the things I could not change, meaning what's going on in the world, I needed to find another way utilizing the 12 recovery principles of another option. And guess what that option is? Me sitting before you right now. Okay? Yes. And so maybe, not just maybe, it's obvious and it's reality that this is where I needed to be, and you're sitting out there listening to me for, I will call, the purpose of divine intervention. Yes. So that same information I will be giving around the world, I'm now giving to you. Okay? So, what are the 12 recovery principles? Well, I'm glad you asked. Like I said, this is a conversation. So the 12 recovery principles that are modeled after the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. I am not a representative of Alcoholics Anonymous, but I have been a member for the past 30 years. And in our 12th step principle, it says, the second part, we try to practice these principles in all our affairs. So what I learned going to my 12-step meetings over the last 30 years, that I need to practice what I learned there in all of my affairs. All of my affairs. Who would have thought that 1 hour a day give me and others the information, the foundation, the basis to live the other 23 hours without drinking, without drugging. That's a great investment, isn't it? 1 hour. Give us all the information we need to live the other 23 hours by practicing these 12 recovery principles in all our affairs. So, just to list what the 12 recovery principles are, once again, you may know them, you may not. This may be your first time. So I think repeating things, repetition, is very helpful. So recovery principle number 1 says, we admitted we were powerless over. And in my case, I was powerless over my addiction. I was powerless over my alcoholism. And as a result of that, my life had become unmanageable. So you could fill in what you are powerless over. We admitted we were powerless over this coronavirus pandemic. We are powerless over how people are reacting to it. We are powerless over the ripple effect that it is having. We are powerless over what people are doing and saying. As a result of that powerlessness, if I feed into it, my life will become unmanageable, or my life is unmanageable. And that's where that serenity prayer come into play. So with recovery principle number 1, we admitted we were powerless over, you fill in the blank, and that our lives had become unmanageable. If you can't get it that way, well, ask yourself right now, is my life unmanageable? And in what areas? Why is my life unmanageable? Is it because of the coronavirus? Yes. Am I powerless over it and what it's doing around the world? To some extent, yes. But these 12 recovery principles can help you to find out and identify what you can do. You can do. You can do. And through that serenity prayer, courage to change the things I can. So what do I need to do? What do I need to face? Because courage is basically fear, but do it anyway. So we want to face everything and recover. We want to face everything and rejoice. We want to face everything and rebuild. So we have to have courage to do that. So what can I do? And then the last part, wisdom to know the difference. So once again, the first recovery principles is we admitted we were powerless over and that our lives had become unmanageable. That's the only principle we have to do 100%. 100%. The second recovery principle that we did yesterday was came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. I'll repeat. Recovery principle number 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. You saying I'm crazy? No. What does sanity mean? Soundness of mind. Came to believe that a power greater than me could restore me to soundness of mind. The example I gave, well, because I've been working these 12 recovery principles in my life, I've been restored to soundness of mind to know that if I pick up a drink or a drug, I'm only going to pick up where I left off at, and it will probably be, it will be a lot worse. So soundness of mind that I've been restored to by a power greater than me has helped me to make some better decisions, do the next right thing. Because that power greater than me gave me information, tools to use to be restored to soundness of mind. The third recovery principle that we're going to be focusing on today is made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Let me repeat that. Recovery principle number 3 is made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. I don't have to accept your God. You don't have to accept my God. I don't have to accept their God. As you understood Him. As you understand Him. But we ask whoever your God is, whether you believe or don't believe, that is caring and loving. But once I admitted I was powerless over my drug addiction, I came to believe that a power greater than me could help restore me to soundness of mind. It took me a number of years to recognize and accept that it was my creator. But once I realized that, then the third recovery principle was easy for me. Made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of a God that of my understanding. Okay? So we're going to be focusing on that recovery principle today. Recovery principle number 4 is made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves. What do you mean by inventory? Well, you know how you have stock in stores and they do an inventory of what's good, what's bad, what's not selling, what's selling good, how do we place it, what do we need to get rid of, what need to we get more, what needs to be eliminated. Well, we're going to take through recovery principle number 4, made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves, our character defects, our character assets. What are we made of? To thy own self be true. And we want to tell you and show you and demonstrate how that inventory is conducted, because that inventory is going to help you go from outside to inside and bring the inside outside. Yes. We have to admit, we have to reveal. So making that inventory is essential in this thing called recovery. Being free to be emerged empowered. Yes. Recovery principle number 5 is admitted to God, of your understanding, to ourselves and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. Recovery principle number 5, admitted to God, who already knows everything, to ourselves, we know everything too, but to another human being, ooh, that sounds scary, but it's freedom. Because when we do recovery principle number 5, we're going to learn how to get to the exact nature of some things. Jealousy was the obvious, but jealousy was followed by insecurity. Insecurity was followed by fear of being alone. So we get to the exact nature. So that's recovery principle number 5. Recovery principle number 6 says, we're entirely ready. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character that has been revealed in step recovery principle number 4 and number 5. Wouldn't you want all of that stuff to be removed? We are born with natural instincts. And character defects are nothing more than natural instincts that have far exceeded their purpose. That's all character defects are. And we're going to get into that in a little more detail. But I was entirely ready for God to remove any and all things that was going to prevent him from helping me, using me, molding me, shaping me, and preparing me for things like today. And what I have been prepared for to deal with the last 30 years, because I was entirely ready for God to remove these things from me. And his time, I just needed to be willing. So that's what recovery principle number 6 is. And recovery principle number 7 says, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. Recovery principle number 7, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. Well, now that I have been able to identify some character defects, and because I am entirely ready to have God remove them, they may not be removed right away. And so there are times that I will fall short. I will make the same mistake again. I will fall into that trap again. Sometimes intentionally and sometimes unintentionally. But because of awareness that I know I shouldn't have said that. I know I shouldn't do this. But for some reason I want to do. I want what I want when I want it. Yes. But when I have that voice that says, Edwina, you shouldn't do that. Well, I can't rely on myself to not do it. I have to call on him to remove that shortcoming, to not help me fall short. Help. This is a we thing. Our, I, we, our. This, ourselves. So I need to ask help from that creator who is working on removing those defects, but I fell short. I fall short. But I have a way out. I can humbly ask him to remove it. Okay? Recovery principle number 8 says, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. What you mean, make a list? Yes. Well, in step 4, when we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves, we found out some things about ourselves, and we found out some things that we did to other people. Regardless of what they did to us, but we needed to be held accountable for the part we played in it. And so in recovery principle number 4, we identified the players, the situation, what feelings it generated, and then what part I played in it. So taking that 4th step inventory of all those people that were identified, we take that and we compose our recovery principle number 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. We need to be set free. So when we talk about free from recovery, emerge empowered, we have to be willing to list those individuals we hurt, we have caused harm to. And guess who's at the top of the list? You, me. We have caused more harm to ourselves than anybody. But if I'm not willing to make amends to myself, how in the world can I make amends to anybody else? So by putting myself on the list, my family, you go down and you have a column that says, these are the people I know I hurt. And I'm willing to make amends to them. Then you have a middle column that says, maybe I'll put them on a list. Maybe I'll become willing to make amends to them. And you talk about the situation. Then you have a third column that says, I will never make amends to these people. And what happened in the situation? The fact that we just asked you to make a list. And as you develop your list of those you had harmed, you will eventually become willing to make amends to them all. Because you don't want to give anything or anybody that much power ever again to steal your joy, your peace, your serenity. And in our case, to make me go back to drinking and drugging again, hell to the no. I'm not giving you this coronavirus, none of that power ever again to make me go back to drinking. Okay? So recovery principle number 9. All right, so you got to see an overview from what I did back on April the 4th of 2020 and how I stopped at recovery principle number 8 because that's the principle we are on today. And what I want to do is to provide you information that I extracted from Jason Wahler, JASONWAHLER.com, and how he addressed recovery principle number 8 to alcoholics, right? Drug addicts. And so I always want to give you the foundation, the preparation information, so you can see why we need to do recovery principle number 8, and what you can expect, what the benefits are, some history on it, some information, so that you can say, wow, yes, that makes sense. Yes, I need to do that step. Yes. So let me read what Jason Wahler writes for recovery principle number 8 with resources that he collected and interjecting his own experience, strength, and hope and wisdom. Once we go through this, then tomorrow we will change the area of focus on recovery principle number 8 to COVID-19. Okay? So listen. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Every AA has found that he can make little headway in this new adventure of living until he first backtracks and really makes an accurate and unsparing survey of the human wreckage he has left in his wake. That comes from the 1212, page 77. Terrified of facing the wreckage of your past? Looking at the shipwreck of your alcoholic life from the shore is one thing, but taking actions to repair and mend what is salvageable is a whole other adventure. Step 8 of Alcoholics Anonymous helps recovering alcoholics to live in the greatest peace and partnership with others and themselves. While step 4 could be seen as your personal house cleaning, step 8 is more of a social application of the shame reduction that was begun in step 4. When you realize that you have hurt others as well as yourself because of alcoholic drinking. While working step 8, you are just going to make a list of people you have harmed and the specific ways that you have harmed each one. Remember, you have acted with courage, working all of your previous steps in AA and staying sober. With step 8, you have the opportunity to translate your experience of courage into developing a compassionate spirit. He goes down to say, breaking down step 8 of Alcoholics Anonymous. Step 8 of AA is the beginning of the process of making amends, forgiving others, and possibly being forgiven by them, in addition to forgiving yourself. By making a list of the people we harmed and become willing to make amends, we take action towards healing the past with others and learning how to live in the world with our head held up high, looking people right in the eye. So how does the 8th step work? Okay. Step 8 is mostly about identifying the damage you have done to others and listing those names. It doesn't matter if the harm you caused was from selfishness, carelessness, anger, arrogance, dishonesty, or any other character defect. It doesn't even matter if you didn't intend to cause harm. You are going to make a completely thorough list considering all the ways in which it is possible to cause harm to another person. Some situations are really obvious. For instance, if you stole money from a person or business, or if you exhibited physical or emotional abuse. The names on your list could be people you bullied, cheated on, or tried and treated them coldly, whether they are living or dead, or will want to hear from you or not. It doesn't matter. You are just making a list. It says, warning, delay is dangerous. That's the subtitle. There will be fear, and there are going to be people who come to mind who also caused you harm. A lot of people delay in starting to work on step 8 because they aren't willing to make amends to these people because they resent them too much. Even if you are so unwilling that you don't even want to pray for willingness because you can't imagine having any compassion for certain people, put their names on the list anyway. The truth is that forgiving someone who harmed us may mean swallowing some pride without any alcohol to wash it down. But unfortunately, not forgiving that person costs us our freedom. The greatest thing about recovery is that much to our own surprise, we become willing to let go of resentment, blame, and self-pity, and recognize that we are all just ordinary garden variety human beings. So instead of getting caught up in those tricky old feelings, get out your pen and paper and put those names on the list. It says here, just put them on the list? No. Before you can rebuild relationships, you need to identify the relationships that were damaged. That's why you are making a step 8 list. You get to take responsibility for your own part, not someone else's, and to clean up your side of the street. This is not a list for you to keep in your head. It's the kind that you need to put down on paper. Putting names on paper takes the ideas out of our heads where they may have grown to massive proportions and right size them. You have already cataloged your character defects and moral inventory, and now you're going to examine some of the same situations from another angle and perspective. For your 8-step list, you should include every name you can think of, even if you're not sure that you owe any amends in that particular situation. You can put your name on the list with an awareness that the way we make amends to ourselves is the ongoing process of stopping irresponsible and self-destructive behavior. When you feel it's pretty thorough, take the list and break it into 4 categories with your sponsor. The first category, 1, people to make amends to now. 2, people to make partial amends to in order to not injure them or others. 3, people to make amends to later. And 4, people we may never be able to make direct personal contact. You're going to get to practice the principle of courage while working the 8th step because you can't restrict your list only to those amends that you think will turn out okay. Remember to be incredibly honest, even if what you discover in the truth is painful to accept. As one of the AA old timers in my home group liked to say, the truth is going to set you free, but at first it may sting a little bit. Okay. Forgiveness and a bunch of cool spiritual principles is the next subsection. Here's a quote by Brian H. Miguel. There is no love without forgiveness, and there is no forgiveness without love. Spiritual principles abound in step 8. Forgiveness, honesty, courage, willingness, accountability, humility, and compassion are some of the biggies. By listing who we believe we have harmed, we are holding ourselves accountable. By admitting we are human and have made mistakes, we develop compassion for ourselves. By forgiving those who have harmed us, we are set free. Extending a decent dose of authentic love requires humility and knowing that these actions will not only help in your recovery, but also benefit the greater good requires a fair amount of trust. See, Dr. Scott T. Allison says something about trust, right? The next subsection, repairing burned bridges. Step 8, questions and actions. Step 8 helps build awareness that little by little, we are gaining new attitudes about ourselves and how we deal with other people. Here are some questions to help guide you through working step 8. 1, are there resentments in the way of your willingness to make amends? 2, are you hesitating in any way before working on the 8th step? If so, why? 3, why is it valuable to determine the exact nature of your wrongs? 4, why is it so essential that you are very clear about your responsibility? 5, are there people to whom you owe an amends who may be a threat to your safety or about whom you are concerned in some other way? 6, why is simply saying I'm sorry alone not sufficient to repair the damage that you've caused? 7, why is only changing your behavior not sufficient to repair the damage you've caused, right? 9, do you have amends to make that are financial and therefore you do not want to make them? 10, can you imagine what your life would be like if you had already made these amends? 11, do you have amends to people who have also hurt you? Okay, the last section, finishing step 8 of AA. There's a level of honesty in working the 12 steps that some members of AA exalt in because of the freedom it brings. The reason one of our slogans says is happy, joyous, and free is because without alcohol in our lives, we have freedom to take a deep breath and exist in the day, relieved of that feeling of waiting for the other shoe to drop, the jig to be up, or the police to come knocking. Remember that it takes time to heal from trauma. As addicts, we want to rush to the end result. However, there is no prize for doing any of the steps as fast as you can. Impulsively rushing in to make amends without taking the time to work with your sponsor could be as detrimental as not making amends. It's never too late, but sometimes it's too early. Remember this: focus on a comprehensive 8-step list, then let prayer and meditation, the time for forgiveness to come. When you forgive, you heal. When you let go, you grow. You don't have to look over your shoulder no more. That was Jason Waller's narrative, questions, information on how he applied step 8 to his alcoholic disease, using other resources and injecting his own experience, strength, and hope. So tomorrow, if God allows us to be here together, we will change the area of focus from alcohol to COVID-19. And I too will share some of my experience, my strength, and my hope on how I had to list members of my family and others regarding recovery principle number 8. So let me end by saying, please be safe. If it's God's will that we are reunited, He breathed life into you and to me. Tomorrow we will be together on day 104. In the meantime, ask yourself, are you in the prevention, intervention, or restoration mode of COVID-19? Are you being proactive, reactive, inactive, or responsible regarding COVID-19? And so we want you to be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. So wash your hands, wear your mask, social distancing, contact tracing, get tested, and get vaccinated. So let me end by sharing what my second shot looked like.
Look at it. She's at the red button. Gotcha. All right. Okay. Let's get you a little shot of hope here, my dear.
Yes, dear. Did you hear that? A shot of hope. Yes, that was my second Pfizer shot on February the 6th, right? So let me end by acknowledging my sponsors again and to show you and encourage you to help support them And if you want to be a sponsor, please contact me, right? And so let me put their information on the screen and also encourage you to become a sponsor, right? MDB Associates, Patchwork Human Services, Levante and Dorsey and Associates, Academy of Peace, Crafty Crab Seafood Restaurant, Free to Hope LLC. Yes, and I have some more. They are Women Do Haul Transportation Services, Mr. C's Barbershop, Morgan's of Delaware, Lady T at Morgan's of Delaware, Jewelry by Catherine Butler, and Divine Light Recovery Center and Supportive Housing. So be safe, and if it's God's will, we will see you tomorrow. Remember, apply these 12 spiritual principles and take the simple suggestions offered by the CDC in order to save your life and the lives of others. Be safe until we meet again.